In northern Germany, there's this zoo that has 2 gay penguins, right? And they've actually adopted this abandoned chick and raised it. And I think it's such an incredible story. It turns out that they found like an abandoned egg, and they incubated it and everything, and they hatched the egg, and they're raising this little chick and taking care of it. And I just think this story is so interesting because, all right, 2 gay penguins. Did they make a decision sometime in their life to be gay, or were they born that way? Isn't it interesting?
I don't want to be.
I mean,
negative side of this, but
I know penguins and people are 2 completely
I wasn't
different
gonna make that point.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. It was amazing the first several thousand times. It happens now. I mean, now maybe we can tell to someone who still doesn't realize that this happens, and they go, "Oh," but aren't those people running out still? Those people, those mindsets have got to be running out by now. It's
people who believe that people decide to be gay. You think those people are running out? I really don't think that they are.
No, I don't think they're running out. But like when you hear a story like this, they won't make the connection.
No, of course they won't, because when people are that irrational, they'll immediately reject facts and they'll immediately reject evidence, which I think is a terrible thing. Look, the worst and most difficult thing to do is to admit to yourself that you're wrong. And that was one of the things I experienced when I, thought prostitution is wrong, it shouldn't be legalized. After I started, taking in the facts and making myself open to the facts, I decided, wait, my argument doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to legalize it so it's safe, we could regulate it, whatever, right? But some people are just so irrational that they will not accept the facts and they'll ignore it. So, yeah, of course they're not going to draw a conclusion or draw comparisons between these 2 gay penguins and, homosexuality among people. It's just not going to happen.
And I think maybe that's the way to approach it a lot of times, because everyone has their misconceptions or preconceived ideas about things. When I was in Vegas over the weekend, I was with my friend riding to the club in the taxi, and we were talking about, actually, we remember a few weeks on the show, we were talking about tattoos on women and how I like them. But if you're going to get them, get them. You don't have to get sleeved up or nothing. But I don't mind that either. I don't prefer that. But still, anyway, the tattoo part we were talking about. You remember that.
Right.
And Jake had this preconceived idea about it. Like, oh, if a girl has a tattoo like that all over her shoulder, man, I think she's going to stab me. Why does he think that? So as long as you go to that root of why people have that misconception from the beginning about people, why do you think tattoos mean you have a knife in your back pocket all the time? It's the way Jake thought. Now, why do people who don't want to make these connections, or for some reason think it controls their life if someone else decides to marry someone of the same sex or even get with them, then maybe as long as there's a parallel in how your brain shuts off and doesn't want to listen anymore. Because some people don't want to listen when you say, hey, by the way, sometimes people who've never committed a crime have a tattoo, And as long as you find where that starts, and it can be relatable, at least to talk about it with someone else.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the way to go, because that's the thing. You were open enough about that subject to say, maybe.
Yeah.
And get past whatever preconceived idea you had.
And it's a really difficult thing to do, to tell yourself, hey, you know what, I was wrong. And it's really difficult to admit that to people, especially after you've had a heated debate about it. But I remember debating about the whole prostitution thing with Jank, and Jank was like, okay, well, why don't you want to legalize it? What's your problem with it? And I was like, well, I'm just uncomfortable with it. And he's like, that's a reason not to legalize it, because you're uncomfortable with it? And I mean, I realized I had no real argument. And I think that those who are against gay marriage, they have no real argument. They know that. That's why they keep going back to the Bible. That's why they keep going, back to their whole argument that, hey,
change the world, you're not going to be able to reproduce. There's not enough kids in the world.
Exactly. There's not enough kids in the world, right.
There's so many kids out there that are adopted, and I mean, all the foster parents, there's no more kids to take in anymore. There's none.
Right.
I mean, seriously, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.